Okay, I'm gonna read just this article from my Substack here about interest rates. So let me pull that up here. Okay, so ratedisparity.substack.com. A nominal zero rate is just unit consistency. A positive nominal rate is just an alternative to changing other policy variables. Okay, so I later on in this video, I compare the scorekeeping of like interest rates and accounting to like sports where you offer different points for different things. But let me just get started here. For a modern fiat issuing country, it is possible to use nominal interest rate increases in order to increase the real return on government issued securities. So what that means is if we increase interest rates, then it makes treasury bonds more attractive because you get more real value when you hold treasury bonds. So more people will want to hold treasury bonds when interest rates are higher. Then I go on. But this only happens because policy and law fix nominal variables. So raising the nominal rate on money is just uniformly lowering other policy variables like minimum wage, public servant salaries, benefit levels, tax brackets, and critically, the present value of outstanding treasury bonds. So all I'm saying there, hey, if we want to offer people more money for buying treasury bonds, then we are inherently offering everyone else a little less. So the minimum wage gets lowered. The wage of like congressional salaries and stuff, that's not a big deal in the overall budget, but benefit levels like Social Security get lower when you increase interest rates. I mean, they're lower in relative terms, so they have less of a share of income. The tax brackets get lower because income overall goes up when treasury bonds earn more. Then you're more likely to hit a higher tax bracket. So you're lowering tax brackets. And then the last thing I mentioned is the present value of outstanding treasury bonds. So when you buy a treasury bond, so when we raise rates, it increases the money you get for buying new treasury bonds. But actually, that means if you just bought a treasury bond yesterday, then you're missing out on that rate increase. So, example, if you buy a 5-year treasury bond when interest rates are 2%, then you'll get you'll pay $90 today to get, or something like that, to get $100 10 years from now. Now, the way they pay out can vary. They can pay out regular intervals, or you get the whole amount at the end. But that's the idea of it. So you pay a lesser amount of money today to get more money in the future. So if rates are low and you buy a treasury bond, then you've bought a fixed amount of future dollars. So if it's 2025 now, then in 2030, you'll have a fixed amount. You have a fixed amount of dollars. So if we're offering people even more money to buy treasury bonds, then if you just bought one, you're out of luck. Okay. Now, there are also market effects. Those, however, are going to tend to cancel themselves out in that they benefit one person and hurt another. The effect of interest rates that only goes in one direction is between the government and the private sector, because for private sector transactions, there's a person on both sides of the transaction. So one person will benefit, another person will be hurt. But when it's just the government paying out more money, then that's a one-directional thing because you're just diluting stuff. But so I go on. As such, a nominal rate increase is directly and intentionally instigating inflation in that we're creating more money to give to bondholders, intended to stabilize the currency as a savings vehicle by diluting the purchasing power of other interests. So because we're giving bondholders more money, everybody else is getting less relative money. So it's just like encouraging people to stockpile money. Okay, then I go on here to talk about cryptocurrencies a little to compare this to what cryptocurrencies do. Now, importantly, Bitcoin and pretty much any proof of work coin is not going to, they're only going to create money to pay people to do work. A proof of work coin does not pay people money to hold money. So Bitcoin has a nominal zero interest rate policy because it only pays people to do work. It doesn't pay people to hold money. Whereas a proof of stake coin like um, Cardano, I believe, is a proof of stake coin. I think that's the big one. Ethereum actually started out as proof of work and is now transitioning to proof of stake. Because proof of stake for crypto, it's less resource intensive on the environment. So that's why it is a little bit favored. But it does by so with proof of stake, when people stake currency, they get more currency. So it creates an incentive to participate in staking, which is just the process of verifying ledger blocks. So blockchain is just a big block of transactions, and those transactions have signatures from individual wallet holders, and a crypto currency network or ledger needs to be able to make sure the transactions are published in proper order. If the transactions get out of order, then you can get a double spend situation where you spend your wallet over here, but then you act like, hey, I still have this in the wallet, so I can spend it over here. So you can end up with double spends if the order of ledgers isn't enforceable and can't be universally recognized. So that's the goal with these ledger keepers, to keep the transaction in blocks. Now, the verification of your wallet is done by cryptographic signatures. So every transaction you make on a wallet is signed with your wallet's key. So that's how wallet transactions are verified, but you still need a way to verify the order of the ledger. Like the signature can't verify order because you can sign different messages at different times. And just by getting a copy of that signature, you don't know which one is signed first. So there has to be one way of creating a ledger with a uniform ordering to prevent double spend. So that's what these two different schemes, or rather, the consensus mechanisms are trying to do: proof of stake or proof of work. But I bring this up just to point out that Bitcoin, or rather, currencies like Ethereum now, and and different proof of stake currencies also have this positive interest rate policy to incentivize people to hold currency. But proof of work cryptocurrencies do not. They have a permanent zero interest rate policy. So they don't offer any incentive to hold currency other than they don't, the, the network doesn't do anything productive except provide a ledger of the transactions. So it's not a productive asset, it's a asset you just hold. So whether like any type of financial investment or something like that, that's going to be a productive asset. Even a country is trying to do productive activities. Now their effectiveness can vary, and you can argue they're inefficient. Many times that a currency does not do anything productive. It just allocates a scarce resource. So it's just about holding things. And so that's why, even with a zero interest policy on something like Bitcoin or any other proof of